Who exactly are Yemen's Houthis, and why has this movement drawn the attention and fire of powerful nations like Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Iran, and the United States? Let's break it down. The Houthis are a group that originated in Yemen's northwestern Sada province. They belong to the Zaydi sect of Shiite Islam, a branch that makes up about 35% of Yemen's population. For centuries, Zaydis ruled parts of Yemen, until their imamate was overthrown in 1962. Feeling sidelined by Yemen's central government and threatened by Saudi-funded Salafi influence in their homeland, the Houthis, officially calling themselves Ansarullah, or Party of God, began an armed rebellion in 2004. Iran is widely accused of backing the Houthis, along with Lebanese Hezbollah. Yemeni officials and Sunni-majority states claim Iran has supplied arms, funding, and training. Iran and Hezbollah, however, deny these accusations. The United States, working alongside Saudi Arabia, has presented what it calls physical evidence of Iranian weapons in Houthi hands, including ballistic missiles and drones allegedly built in Iran and smuggled to Yemen. Tensions exploded in 2009 when the Houthis crossed into Saudi territory during their rebellion against Yemen's government. Saudi Arabia launched airstrikes and deployed troops, marking the first time its army fought abroad without a foreign partner. By 2015, the conflict had grown into a full-blown war. A Saudi-led coalition, supported by the UAE, launched a military campaign against the Houthis after they took over Yemen's capital, Sana'a. The war dragged on, despite repeated UN peace efforts. On November 4, 2017, a ballistic missile was fired at Riyadh's King Khalid International Airport. The Houthis claimed responsibility. Saudi Arabia and the United States accused Iran of supplying the missile, calling it an act of war. Iran and Hezbollah denied any involvement. In response, Saudi Arabia imposed a near-total blockade on Yemen. That December, the Houthis killed Yemen's former president, Ali Abdullah Saleh, after he broke off his alliance with them and reached out to the Saudi-led coalition. Iran praised Saleh's death, calling it a blow against Gulf interference in Yemen. By 2018, Houthi missile and drone attacks on Saudi Arabia increased. Targets included oil facilities and even tankers at sea. The UN called the Yemen war the world's worst humanitarian crisis, with over 23 million people in need of aid. In 2019, Houthis claimed credit for drone strikes on 2 major Saudi oil installations, but U.S. intelligence pointed the finger at Iran, suggesting the attacks originated from inside Iranian territory. In early 2022, the Houthis escalated by firing missiles and drones at the United Arab Emirates, prompting U.S. troops at Al Dhafra Air Base to shelter and fire back with Patriot missiles. It's important to understand the Houthis' religious roots. They follow Zaydism, a branch of Shi'ism distinct from the Twelver Shi'ism practiced in Iran. Zaydis believe leadership belongs to any qualified descendant of Ali, the Prophet Muhammad's cousin. Unlike Twelvers, they don't believe in the concept of an infallible, hidden imam. However, due to Iranian influence, Twelver practices have started to appear in Houthi ceremonies, including the public celebration of Ashura and Eid al-Ghadir since 2017. While Iran continues to deny direct involvement, its officials openly support the Houthis' cause. Evidence of intercepted weapons shipments, advanced drones, and ballistic missiles has been cited by the U.S., Saudi Arabia, and the UN as proof of Iranian involvement. Iranian-backed Hezbollah has also been accused of advising and training Houthi fighters, claims both parties deny. Beyond foreign support, the Houthis rely on local funding, sympathetic charities, and illegal trade to sustain their fight. The Yemen conflict is one of the Middle East's most devastating and complex wars, a deadly mix of local grievances, religious identity, and regional proxy warfare. The Houthis, once a small rebel group in the mountains of Sa'ada, now control large parts of northern Yemen, with influence and firepower that reaches deep into Saudi Arabia and the UAE. What are the Houthis, and what do they really believe? Today, we're breaking down the politics, history, and leadership of one of the Middle East's most controversial militant groups. Let's start with their political views, or lack of them. The Houthis don't follow a clear, consistent ideology. In fact, their political platform is often vague and contradictory. Originally, they wanted to imitate Lebanon's Hezbollah, holding power from behind the scenes without officially ruling. As Yemen expert Gregory Johnson put it, the Houthis have always been outsiders. They're a militia group dabbling in politics, and they don't really know how to rule. Their emblem hints at their worldview. God is great, death to America, death to Israel, curse the Jews, victory to Islam. But many experts believe their anti-US and anti-Israel rhetoric is more performative than practical. The Houthis alliance with Yemen's ex-president Ali Abdullah Saleh exposed them to accusations of joining in on Yemen's long history of corruption. Though rooted in Yemen's Zaydi Shia community, the Houthis insist they're not reviving the old Zaydi imamati. Since 2011, their message has shifted towards nationalism and populism, even building alliances with some Sunni groups. They took part in Yemen's National Dialogue Conference from 2013 to 2014, but opposed the plan to split the country into 6 regions. They wanted Sahra, their heartland, to stay autonomous. Now, how did this all start? It goes back to Hussein al-Houthi, a prominent cleric and parliament member in the 90s. He became a fierce critic of President Saleh, accusing him of cozying up to the US and Israel. After the government cut his funding in 2000, al-Houthi led protests and clashed with security forces until his death in 2004. What followed was 6 armed uprisings against the government, known as the Houthi Wars. During the Arab Spring, the Houthis joined protests against Saleh. After his resignation in 2011, the new president, Hadi, struggled to gain support. The Houthis seized this moment, growing in numbers and advancing south. By September 2014, they took over the capital, Sana'a. They agreed to a UN-brokered peace deal. But by January 2015, they'd rejected the government's constitution and seized the presidential palace. Hadi fled, and war broke out. In March 2015, Saudi Arabia launched a military campaign against the Houthis, supported by a coalition of 9 other Sunni nations. Despite airstrikes and blockades, the Houthis held firm. Multiple peace talks failed. Ceasefires were broken again and again. By 2017, the Houthis controlled most of northern Yemen. In 2018, a brief truce in Sweden fell apart by early 2019. In April 2022, the Houthis and Yemen's government agreed to a UN-brokered 2-month truce, the first nationwide ceasefire in years. It was extended, offering a rare moment of calm in a brutal conflict. What about other Islamist groups? The Houthis have a rocky relationship with Islah, a Sunni party linked to the Muslim Brotherhood. They accuse each other of fueling unrest, and despite brief attempts at peace, their conflict reignited after Islah backed the Saudi-led airstrikes. The Houthis have also clashed with extremist groups like ISIS and al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. Both Sunni militant factions have targeted Houthis with bombings and assassinations. Leading the Houthis is Abdul Malik al-Houthi, the brother of their founder. Since 2007, he's been their military, political, and spiritual leader. He rarely appears in public but remains the group's figurehead. In 2015, the U.S. sanctioned Abdul Malik, and the UN placed an arms embargo on the Houthis. The Trump administration later designated the group a foreign terrorist organization in 2021, a move reversed by the Biden administration weeks later to avoid worsening Yemen's humanitarian crisis. Today, the Houthis remain one of the most powerful forces in Yemen. Their future? Still uncertain. Caught between local politics, regional rivalries, and a long, grinding war. In the next episode, we'll explore how the United States and allied forces are responding to the Houthi threat. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Armory Unveiled for more in-depth coverage of the Yemen crisis.